Next problem is example 2.2. In this example, we're going to look at absolute cell referencing and some basic charting concepts, preparing Excel charts. Now, this example is about a bookshelf manufacturer, and they make two kinds of bookshelves, one made of cherry and the other one is oak. Now, here is the given data. For each bookshelf, we need 30 board feet of wood for cherry and for oak as well. And then we need 16 hours of labor. Now the current unit cost per board feet of cherry is $5.50. For oak is $4.30. And these costs per board foot is estimated to go up at the rate of 2.4% annually and 1.7% for oak. Now the current labor cost is $18.50 per hour, and that cost is expected to go up annually at the rate of 1.5%. What we want to do in this example is to build a model that will estimate what the cost per bookshelf of each of these two kinds. Cost of bookshelf made of cherry, cost of bookshelf made of oak. And also we want to look at what that cost will look like for the next 5, 6 or 7 years if the costs are going to go up per unit at the rate of these percentages. Okay, now let's go to the Excel file, and here we have the shell file that already has the input data entered. So we have two different kinds of bookshelves and board feet required, 30 and 30, labor was required, 16 and 16. And cost right now of wood, board foot, what is the annual increase, and labor, what is the annual increase. And we want to set up a model which give us cost per bookshelf here from right now, that is year 0, going all the way up to year 6. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set up in this section cost per unit, okay, or cost per board foot for cherry and oak wood, and cost of labor per hour. And we'll set that up for current time and going all the way up to year 6, and then in these two columns we'll then compute the cost per bookshelf. So right now, cost per board foot of cherry is just B9, and since oak is right next to that, we can copy it right like that. Now the cost from going from year 0 to year 1 will be, that's your cost in year 0, that is current cost, times is going to go up by, so you need to multiply by 1 plus the percentage rate. Now here is where I'm going to use absolute cell reference, so we can copy this formula to the right for oak, because the percentage increase is to the right here. Now, but when we copy it down below for the different years, year 2, year 3, the percentage increase should remain in the same row. Shouldn't change to row 11, shouldn't change to row 12. So the row is fixed, column is not. So when we press the F4 key, the absolute reference signs, that is dollar signs, will be entered. The first time I press F4, dollar sign will be entered for both the column B and row 10. But we don't want the dollar sign for column B, because when we copy it to the right, we want the B to change to C. So I can do that by simply pressing F4 key again. Okay, so now the dollar for the B is gone. Now dollar for 10 remains. Now suppose if we had wanted the other way around, that is, we wanted the dollar to remain for B but go away for 10, then you have to press F4 again. Now it puts the dollar for B and takes away the dollar for 10. And then if I press F4 one more time, then we go back to where we started. So the F4 key operates like a toggle between 4 different states. No dollars at all. A dollar for both the column and the row, and then the dollar only for row, and then the dollar only for column. So I'll press F4 and one more time, and the dollar is only for the row. The row is now fixed. So close parenthesis. Now I set up format like that, currency format. If I copy it to that cell, then it will use the 1.7 to find the per board foot cost of oak for year 1. Now when I copy that for the rest of the rows, I get the cost per board foot of wood for each of these two kinds. Let me align this properly. Now labor again is the same way. So the first year 0 labor comes from there, and then that times 1 plus. Now this time there is no separate labor for oak, so I could just leave it at $B, $14, because we're not going to copy this cell to the next column. But to be consistent, let me make it like that. So in case we want to later on change, then this will be there for us to use as is. Now once again, change the format and copy. So now we have the per unit cost of wood per board foot, and then per hour cost of labor. Now the cost per bookshelf then is, we have to now use how many board feet we need. Okay, that, and now this should be again properly absolute reference. So you need to be able to copy to the next column for oak, but the board feet required must always come from the same row. So row gets the $sign times cost per board foot. Now that should change both column wise and row wise, so we leave it like that. So that's our cost of wood plus amount of labor needed, okay, which is right there. And once again, same way, the dollar is for 6 times cost of labor per hour. Is down, the labor cost should change from row 19 to row 20, row 21. So row should change, but column should not. So we have to put the $sign for column D. Now copy that. Okay, now we have the cost per bookshelf for cherry and for oak. Now copy that. So now we have the expected cost per bookshelf for each of these two kinds of bookshelves from current cost all the way up to year 6 cost. Now we want to prepare a chart and look at how the cost increases is going to visually be represented. So now include the label and highlight. Then we can go and insert, and let's do a line graph, okay, with markers. Okay, now we have the basic chart. Now we have to do a few things with this chart before it becomes complete. One is we need to make sure that the x-axis is that column, okay, year 0 being the current value. So you have to go to select data, okay, with the graph selected, go to select data, and here you click edit and include the year label like that. Okay. Now we need to add titles. So go to layout and we can go to chart title and above chart, and we will put in projected bookshelf costs. Now x-axis is years from now, so let's put x-axis, horizontal axis below. Okay, we'll do years from now. Now y-axis, okay, we'll do vertical axis and rotated title. Cost per bookshelf. Now we can do one more thing. We can control the y-axis scale. Instead of going from 0 through 600, we could probably set it to 400 through 600, so we can focus into the important part. Your textbook has it going from 300 to 600, so we'll do that. So for that, you click on these numbers, and with the square highlighted, now you right click and select Format Axis. Now here you go to the minimum value, change that to 300. And we can also control the number of decimal places by selecting this number, changing that. Okay, I want to make it 0. Okay, so here is your cost with no decimal places and scaled from 300 to 550. Okay, now let's place the graph right here, and you see there is legend for the two lines. When you have multiple lines, you have to have legend. If you have only one line, then there is no need for a legend.